welcome back to my channel. My name is Arifa and this is Millennial on a Budget. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. You've heard me talk about it a lot already, and I'm probably not going to stop talking about it because this was the reason I even got motivated to get out of debt. So if you guys don't already know, the 7 baby steps comes from a book that Dave Ramsey wrote. It's called The Total Money Makeover, and that's something that I have read. Well, actually, I didn't actually read it. I found the audio version of the book on YouTube, and I listened to it for free on YouTube. And I've also seen Dave Ramsey in person just a few months ago. I think back in March of this year. March of 2019. I saw him live in person. And even though I already knew everything he was going to say because I've been listening to him like crazy, it was just really nice to see him in person because it just got me motivated all over again to finish the baby steps. And I've also watched a lot of his YouTube videos, so I know quite a lot about the baby steps. So I just wanted to break them down to you. I am going to do 7 videos and I'm going to explain all 7 baby steps in as much details as I can. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about baby step number 1. Baby step number 1 may be the most important baby step, but before I start explaining baby step number 1, I just want to go through all 7 baby steps really quickly so you guys can kind of have an idea of what I'm going to be talking about in the next 7 videos. So baby step number 1, which we're going to be discussing today, is to save up $1,000 for an emergency fund. Baby step number 2 is to get out of debt, either using the snowball method or the avalanche method. Baby step number 3 is to beef up your emergency fund, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, and I'll go in more details about that. Baby step number 4 is to invest 15% of your household income. Baby step number 5 is to save up for your kids' college. Baby step number 6, that's the step I'm on, is to pay off your home mortgage early. Baby step number 7 is to I can't talk. Baby step number 7 is to build wealth and give. So now that we've gone through all 7 baby steps, I'm going to go in more detail on baby step number 1. So baby step number 1 is to save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. So this is just a start of an emergency fund. It's not the whole emergency fund, but if you're in debt, then this is a great start. So once you start getting out of debt, and something happens along the way, you can just use this emergency fund to stay on track, take care of whatever just happened, and then beef it up again and keep going. So this really is just to catch the little things that you really didn't plan for. What is an emergency fund? So an emergency fund is to catch all the unexpected or unknown expenses. For example, things that are considered an emergency or things that you will need your emergency fund for is if your hot water tank goes out. And that's happened to my mom actually not too long ago. An emergency visit to the ER that you need a copay for. Your HVAC system goes out. That happened to me over the summer. Your washer or dryer breaks down. These are all things that these are all things that you don't put into your budget, but you have this $1,000 just in case something like this happens. You can go ahead and get it fixed and it doesn't throw you off your debt-free path. So things that are not an emergency that people think are emergencies but should really go into a sinking fund. And sinking funds are for known expenses, and I'll probably make another video just kind of going into more details about that. But things that are not an emergency but things that should be budgeted for every month are birthdays, holidays, vacation, new clothes and shoes. Car maintenance, like an oil change, those are not emergencies. These are things that should be expected. You know that's gonna happen, things that should be in your budget. I do want to mention that Dave Ramsey says that if you are behind on your bills, that you shouldn't even start the baby steps. What you need to do is to get current on all of your bills. If you're not current on your bills, then this makes no sense that you're trying to get out of debt. First, if you are not current on your bills, you're behind on your electric bill or your water bill, you need to get current on those bills before you can start your debt-free journey. One thing I do want to say, you should definitely do the baby steps in order. Dave Ramsey recommends baby step 1 through 7 to be done in order because it honestly makes sense. As someone that has gone through the baby steps, someone that is currently going through the baby steps, I do truly believe that the baby steps are in the order it is for a reason. He's literally helped millions of people get out of debt by doing the baby steps in the order that it's written in his book. Baby step number 1, Dave Ramsey says that you need to save up $1,000 as fast as you can. Now, if you're a household that makes less than $20,000 a year, then he suggests that you save up $500. But if you make more than $20,000 a year, then your starter emergency fund should be it should be $1,000. Saving up $1,000 for an emergency fund helps you catch expenses that are unknown expenses that are going to occur during your debt snowball payoff. And this amount of money shouldn't have you comfortable. You don't want to be comfortable because the whole process of the baby steps is that you're trying to get out of debt. This gets you paying off debt faster so that you're paying less money to interest. That is the whole purpose of baby step number 1 only being $1,000. And I know that can sound scary, but like I said, the whole point of this is just to get you throwing money at your debt a lot faster so you can pay less on interest. Let's say that you had to use your starter emergency fund to pay a copay at the emergency room. Then during baby step number 2, you will stop paying off debt. You will put, let's say your copay was like $200. You would put that $200 back into your emergency fund, because if you use $200, you now only have $800 left in your emergency fund. So you need to go ahead and build that back up to $1,000 and then continue with your debt snowball. Now, like I said, Dave Ramsey said that this part of the baby step you should do as fast as you can. Now, what are some things that you can do to get this $1,000 as fast as you can? Well, the first thing that I suggest that you should do, and the first thing that Dave Ramsey suggests that you should do, is make a budget, a zero-based budget. Give every dollar a place in your budget. That way you know how much money you could throw towards your starter emergency fund. The next thing that you could do is decrease your spending. Like, look at that budget that you just created and see where you can decrease some spending. Like, maybe you can spend less on groceries. Maybe you can do things like turn off your lights when you leave a room so that your electric bill is not as high. He also recommends that you sell everything that you could possibly let go of, sell it. He says to sell everything until the kids think they're next. Now, some of the websites that you can use to sell your things on are Poshmark, Letgo, OfferUp, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, Snapchat, have a garage sale or a yard sale. Another thing that you could do is get a second job. That's what I did. I decided that I wanted to get out of debt faster, so I worked my regular Monday through Friday job, and then I also got a second job which helped me tremendously. Another thing that you could do is find a side hustle. Do things that you could do as a side hustle are, you can be a tutor. Like, so many parents are needing tutors for their kids. You can be a tutor. You can wash cars, you can cut grass, you can walk dogs, you could be a mystery shopper. There's so many things that you could do on your own time to get a little extra money so you can put towards your emergency fund. Another thing that I would suggest that you do is cut your expenses. So not only are you decreasing your expenses, but also cut your expenses. There are things that you can probably get rid of in your budget. Things like getting your nails done. Like, honestly, I I mean, I'm sure I've talked about this before. I really don't get my nails done a whole lot because it is so pricey. Cut cable. There's so many streaming services nowadays for so much cheaper. You do not need cable. Some of the cable prices that I'm hearing are ridiculous. I cannot believe that people are literally paying like $100 to $200 just to watch like 5 channels. That's ridiculous. If you are trying to get out of debt, I'm not saying that you can't have a life, but Dave Ramsey recommends that you don't go out to eat or anything like that. Everything that you're spending money on is necessary. Now, for me personally, I still use a credit card, and if you are using a credit card and you have cash rewards, cash those in and go ahead and throw that towards your starter emergency fund. If you don't have anything to sell, that's okay. You can go to the thrift store and buy stuff and just flip it. You can sell it on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, some of the places that I've listed earlier in the video. There's honestly endless amount of things that you can find at a thrift store and just flip it. One of the biggest things that I had to learn, so I did lower my grocery bill, but I was not using up all the food that I was buying. So what I did was I started shopping my fridge, my freezer, my pantry, and I started to make meals around the things that I already had. And that way that my produce and the things that I had in my home wouldn't go to waste. That is actually a great way to spend less and to save money and to have more money to throw towards your starter emergency fund. Another thing that I did was a no spend month. Now this is really hard. I don't have kids, so for me it was a lot easier to do, but I know there's a lot of people on YouTube that talk about a no spend year. Now, if you can't do a no spend month, then do a no spend day. Do a day where you're not spending any money. Do a day where, or if you can do a day, then maybe you could do a week. If you could do a week, then you can do a month. Like a no spend month is so helpful. You're only spending money on the things that you truly need. If it's tax season and you're getting back some money, instead of going and spending that money on clothes and shoes, and I don't know what people spend that money on, but I would just throw that money towards the emergency fund. And a lot of people are afraid to do this one, but one great way to get more money is just to ask your boss for a raise. I know it sounds kind of crazy to say that, but a lot of people don't ask for a raise. I know I've done it in the past where if you truly know you're a great worker, you've been there long enough to where you can ask for a raise, I will ask for a raise. Go ahead and do that. That's extra money that you could be putting towards your emergency fund. The last thing that I want to talk about is where to keep this money. So once you finally have your $1,000, where should you keep this money? I suggest, and also Dave Ramsey suggests, that you put this money in a savings account, somewhere that it's not too easy to get to, but at the same time, if you needed it, you can get to it. So what I do is I have 2 banks that I use. One bank I keep my emergency fund at. If I needed money from that bank, I can't transfer the money from one bank to the other. I have to actually go into the bank to get the money out. And for me, that's a lot of effort. So I don't ever touch my emergency fund because it's just too much hassle. If you can transfer money from bank to bank, it kind of makes you not want to do it if it takes 3 to 5 business days for the money to come over. Maybe that'll give you enough time to think about it, like, oh, maybe I really don't need to use this money. So I suggest keeping the money in a savings account. That way, while you're getting out of debt, that $1,000 has a little bit of time to grow as well. One of the things that people ask me is, how long should this step take? Honestly, a month or 2. Because if you're selling as much as you can, if you're going to the thrift store and flipping things, if you're decreasing your spending, you're cutting out expenses, then this should not take you more than a month or 2. But I know for some people it could take much longer, and that's okay. But for the majority, a month or 2 is it. and then you can get started on your baby step number 2. Alright guys, that is all that I have for you today. If you did like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to my channel. I will see you guys on the next upload. Take care.